Dumelang guys, I hope you're all doing so well. I welcome you all to our today's episode on Bantu podcast. Molweni, Sanibonani, Apsheni, Winda, and all other African languages. And I forgot is Shona. I just need this word. I'll remember greetings in how to create in Shona, guys. I'll definitely come back in our next video and greet you all in Shona and all other African languages. I'll learn all of them, guys. That's my aim, by the way. So on today's episode, guys, we are in deep problems here currently here in Azania / South Africa. Load shedding, guys. Load shedding is taking us toll. Load shedding is affecting our daily basic lives in terms of network. We cannot properly work, especially some of you guys surely are social media influencers or are making money through online processes. Some of you guys work at shops that require electricity to function for the whole of the day, and our people are losing jobs, especially in KFC and other outlets. So this problem of load shedding is going to affect us possibly for the next 5 years to 10 years, because you cannot underestimate the effect or the bad effect that this load shedding is playing in our lives currently, guys. So I'm very, I cannot say pissed, but I'm very angry at our government, at how they are treating this issue of load shedding, and they're not giving a solution. Instead, they are promising things in J and without even delivering their promises, guys. And today, guys, I'm going to share with you what are the causes of load shedding and who causes this actually, and perhaps the solution to the problems we are facing currently in Azania. And I've heard this load shedding is not affecting only South Africa, but instead the whole SADC region is being affected by this load shedding currently. So I'll share with you what are the causes of load shedding, not according to media, but according to my research, and what could be the possible solution to the problems that we're currently facing of load shedding, because it's going to affect us in the long run. If you cannot keep the lights on, that means there are many sectors of our economy that are going to be affected in the long run. I'm talking about agriculture already. If there is no food, if the food cannot be transported from one place to another at the very same time. Remember, in agriculture, some of the foods, they require electricity, or they require to be processed through some of the things. So for those foods to be processed, they require electricity, like to be able to cut meat, for it to be transported to retailers. There has to be electricity to cut that meat at some point, guys. And on the other side, for our people to use generators, they are very costly due to the fact that the prices of diesel and petrol are increasing on a daily basis here in South Africa. So those are the problems that they're facing currently, and our government is showing to us that they literally do not care, or they literally making sure that we suffer to the end as citizens or as taxpayers here in Africa, in South Africa in particular, guys. So I'm going to share with you what causes load shedding, who causes it, and what could be the possible solution to that problem you're facing. So guys, let us remember load shedding started in 2008, here, especially here in South Africa, and it was just a little thing. So they were saying that it was due to the fact that there's a problem with infrastructure, because if you cannot maintain something, in the long run, that thing is gonna break. It's like your car. If you cannot maintain your car, perhaps each and every year or every 6 months, it's gonna have some problems along the way. So you need to maintain your car at all times. So ESCOM was not maintained for the past many years, guys. And there are many people who are currently transitioning from using coal at homes with no electricity to electricity. So the more we have many people who are using electricity, is the more as the ESCOM you have to increase the generation capacity to accommodate the people who are transitioning from using wood at home, emakaya, to electricity, lights on stoves and stuff. So our government, remember, Eskom was owned by white people. It was designed to produce electricity for only white society in towns and stuff. But here in the location, there was no electricity in the olden days or in the times of apartheid. So that generation capacity was only for the specific amount of people. So now it has increased over time, and there was no infrastructure development as the people who were using electricity increased. Even today, there hasn't been many power stations that were developed in our country. Instead, we are still using the capacity or the infrastructure that was there in 1990s or in 1880s whatsoever, guys. So those are some of the dynamics that are taking place in our country. And other thing that is pissing me off is that in 2017, remember, okay, I'm done with infrastructure, but there's a lack of infrastructure development in our country due to some people are eating money in our government and stuff, in the private sector also. Let's come to another factor that is causing load shedding today. That is very big. In 2017, during times of campaigning for the presidency here in South Africa, CR17, Cyril Ramaphosa 2017, he was campaigning for the presidency and he was given, actually, there are people who invested in him 1 billion. And these people, they cannot put in 1 billion J and say, go to, we are giving you. No, it has an investment return. It's an investment return. And for Cyril to pay that 1 billion, so it cannot be 1 billion J, it has to be 4 billion, 5 billion. And for that money to come back to the people who have given Cyril their money is through selling of state owned enterprises or state companies, like Eskom, Dinel, Transnet, SAA, and other SABC and other state-owned companies. And remember, de Klerk, before Cyril was elected in 2019, he said that if Cyril can stick to his words, everything will be proper in our country. And what was the words of Cyril?
Elections, do you feel the disappointment of people and they don't believe in this new country again because 9 million of people didn't register for this election?
Yes, there is disappointment, but everything is not dark in South Africa. There's light at the end of the tunnel. If the ANC wins and President Ramaphosa keeps his promises, things will get better.
Thank you to the ANC for electing Mr. Ramaphosa. You've got no idea. You've got no idea how important that is for this country's future. And my dad realized that. Close to his death, he was a happy man because of this monumental event in our history. Because I can guarantee you that most South Africans have a lot more hope for the future than they had exactly.
You said you didn't want to be seen as a weak president. You said you didn't want to split the ANC. Well, you've done both very successfully.
If I can be elected as the president of South Africa, all these dysfunctional things, I will sell them to you. Who will be given this state or assets of the country? The white people, the people who are controlling our country currently. We have the Oppenheimers, we have the Jan Ruperts, we have the Stellenbosch Mafia. We have foreign companies that are investing in our country and expecting to get some money from our state enterprises. So they need stakes. They want stake in our public enterprises, guys. And who's going to sell them? Cyril Ramaphosa, because of what? He owned those people. He owed them 1 billion. Even they gave him money in 2017 and now it's 2023. So it's like 6 years to 7 years. So you can imagine how much is the amount that Cyril is owing these people. So now, as citizens, we are paying the price of that kind of agreement between Cyril Ramaphosa and those people, those powerful economists or capitalists. So yeah, guys, so Cyril is the one behind. So the reason we are experiencing as load shedding also is that they want to sell Eskom, and for them to sell it, it has to make sure that it becomes. So guys, the reason we are now experiencing load shedding here in our country and in our second regions, it is because of what? Of the agreement between Cyril Ramaphosa and the National Party, or de Klerk and his friends, or his or business partners. So they had an agreement to, if I become the president, I will sell these state-owned enterprises to you. And there's an inclusion of Pravin Gordhan as the Minister of Public Enterprises, who is making sure that our state-owned enterprises are not working properly, guys. Hence now, for the past few years or many years, since the time of President Jacob Zuma, Pravin was the Minister of Finance, and now is the Minister of Public Enterprises. So those two positions, guys, are very strategic. Being a Minister of Finance, Public Enterprises, they hold the belly of the country, or they hold the economy of the country. Those two positions are one of those positions whom carries the belly or the economy of the country. So if you have a person like Pravin, who is a puppet of white monopoly capital, that's where we are right now. That's why we're experiencing load shedding, because of what? Pravin is behind everything. Pravin and Cyril Ramaphosa are making sure that the capitalists are eating. The capitalists are making sure that Eskom becomes dysfunctional. Just like they sold SAA with 52 rand to the white monopoly capital and the Stellenbosch mafia and all other foreign companies. So we are in deep. Guys, I hope you are all clear to why the second reason we are expressing it is because of what? Because they want to privatize Eskom, just like they did with SAA last year. So they want to take Eskom to be owned by private enterprise or private companies. Actually, they want to privatize Eskom. Hence, Ramaphosa is talking about introduction of independent power producers. They want anyone with a license to transport or provide Eskom with coal to come forward, as long as they have a license to do that. So they give these tenders to the people who are capitalist, or who are going to monopolize. And the moment they sell Eskom, you wanna buy more electricity with such huge amount of money. So guys, private ownership of Eskom means you wanna pay a huge amount of money for few units. That's the definition, or that's a basic definition of privatization of Eskom. If they privatize it, you're gonna pay a lot of money for few units of electricity. So we have to prevent that, because we're gonna suffer at the end of the day as citizens of South Africa, or as the people who are on the lower level of the triangle of capitalism, which is the rich, middle class, and the lower class. So it's going to affect mostly the lower class, or the people who have nothing, or people who do not own the means of production. Even the working class is going to be affected, because they don't own the means of production here in our country. So let us prevent that from taking place, because we're going to suffer a lot. The capitalists are going to make profit from that. So guys, other thing that is causing load shedding here in South Africa, or in a SADC region, because of what? Ukraine and Russia war is the one that is causing load shedding in our country. Why? Because Russia is one of the biggest supplier of gas. So Europe countries, they've been using gas also. So right now, there's no gas. That means they will use more of coal. So they were using coal and gas at the very same time. So now there's a shortage of gas. That means we have to increase the consumption of coal. So USA is one of the top three, or is one of the top three of the countries that are mostly consuming coal in the world. So USA, what does it do? It wants us to move away from coal to what? To green energy, where we use panels, wind power, hydrogen gas. They want us to use gas, solar panels, wind power. They want us to produce power through those parts, solar panels, hydroelectric power, gas line, all those things, man. Those are green. They say that this part of green. They want us to move away from using the coal. But the Bona, they have a shortage of coal. Where do they take this coal from? South Africa. Currently, our coal is moving from South Africa to European countries. But because of what? Ukraine and Russia war. Why? Russia is the biggest supplier of gas. Therefore, Europe has a shortage of gas. Instead of what they do, they steal our coal. Through what? Through our president, who is allowing this thing to take place. There are thousands of trucks in Pietermaritzburg or Richards Bay that are transporting coal to the harbors, and from the harbors to the European countries for the lights to be kept on in the European countries. While here in the SADC region, we are struggling with electricity, but our president is so selfish because he transports or he gives cheaply our coal to the European countries. That's the problem we're facing currently in our country, guys. How can you solve it? So this poses the question of leadership problem in the world, because as a leader you ought to balance, you ought to hear the cry for people, you ought to protect, you ought to give, you ought to be the provider to the people who are crying, or to your people. You ought to provide for your people as a leader. So Cyril Ramaphosa is giving too much to the West, while here in the South we are suffering, because this loadshedding thing is affecting us as the citizens of South Africa, more especially those ones who have nothing, who have no means of production. Because Rupert is there in Stellenbosch, Rupert is there in Cape Town, he's not being affected by loadshedding. Hence, the whites are not saying anything about loadshedding because of what? It does not affect them. As long as, because they, even that kind of a deal between Europe and South Africa, for them to transport, for us to transport coal from here to the harbors and to the European countries, they benefit because they are independent power producers. They provide Eskom with coal. So if they give Eskom coal, as a utility, power utility, and to the harbors, that means that transportation, it means I have a license to transport coal to the harbors. Who are transporting that coal? Independent power producers, IPPs. Who are those people? The Cyril, Glencoe. We have African Rainbow Minerals, Motsepe. Those are our capitalists and other aspirant black bourgeoisies like Bo Motsepe, Bo Cyril Ramaphosa with Glencoe, and other people who are aspirant black bourgeoisie. They're the ones who are benefiting from this loadshedding crisis we are currently facing. They transport the coal from Eskom to harbors and to Europe. That transportation, it costs them to make profit. They monopolize, or they capitalize, or they maximize on profit through that process. And solution. The solution is that we have a leadership problem in the whole world. We have a crisis of leadership. As a leader, you ought to balance. You ought to assist or provide your people with, or you ought to make sure that your people are all happy. So let me just say, Cyril Ramaphosa, he loves America here. Let me just say he gives America electricity or coal for free. Why are we suffering? Okay, let him balance. Okay, my people not need to suffer. Okay, I can give you coal, but let my people not suffer. Then that is a leadership. Right now we are suffering as South Africans, but Cyril is continuing to give Europe coal because of what? Of that agreement of 1 billion. So he's keeping up with the agreement, because if he cannot keep up, he's gonna get out of the office. He won't be able to control the strategic offices like SSA, the State Security Agency. He won't be able to control the Public Enterprises Ministry. He won't be able to control the Finance Ministry. He won't be able to control the NPA. You won't be able to control the judiciary. You won't be able to control the state actually. You won't be able to capture the state. If he cannot keep up to his promises, you won't be able to capture media, because if he cannot keep up to his promises, they're gonna expose the Pala issue is going to escalate. Just like they did with Jacob Zuma, with the Guptas. So if you cannot keep up with the state, you cannot keep up with the promises with the white monopoly capital, they want to expose you, because you are saying you're the enemy of them. You don't want them to make money. So if you don't want the whites to make money in the country, they wanna make sure that they get rid of you very quickly. They want someone they can control. So if you can be a president, they're gonna control you guys. So if a leadership problem, crisis in the whole, as people, we ought to understand that let us work outside the politics, because if you can work inside the politics, you're gonna get caught in the system. So let us create those. Let us mobilize outside the politics. You will see that we are indeed going to collapse this government, because our people in the olden days in the apartheid system, they did not operate under politics that much. Right now, you're in politics. EFF is in politics. All of these politicians are politicizing everything. Hence, you're not finding solutions. They are controlled. They have the limits. They know that there are limits in the political sector. So let us maneuver around or outside the politics. Then we'll see the fruits of our struggle. Let us mobilize and fight for our country, because isolated, yeah. Thank you guys. Hope you're all doing so well. Have a nice day. We will talk more of such issues going forward. Thank you very much. Isolated.